To Labrador now. Last week, 3 Aboriginal teenagers in 3 different communities committed suicide. Now, people in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, Sheshatshiu and Nain are grieving their loss and wondering why this old problem seems to have resurfaced in recent months. It's a question the new MP for Labrador is asking too, and Yvonne Jones is in Ottawa. Ms. Jones, beyond the tragedy of these deaths, what can you tell us about what you've learned about these teens?
First of all, I'm learning that there has been an increase in the number of suicides amongst young people throughout Labrador. I also know from talking to family members and others within the community that there's no real link to these suicides and addictions amongst these young people. Most of them come from very stable homes. They've had tremendous opportunity within their community, within their schools, within their lives, and yet it seems they have fallen into a very tragic situation. My question today is to the Federal Department of Health and to the Provincial Department of Health, along with Labrador-Grenfell Regional Health Services, is are we doing enough? Is the programs in place in these communities to meet the needs of young people that are either suffering through depression, mental illness, or other challenges in their lives, and do they feel they have somewhere to turn to get the help they require?
Now, you've talked about the services that are in place. 10 years ago or so, there was an alarming rate of suicide among young Aboriginal people. What happened back then to try to deal with it, and has something changed?
Unfortunately, 10 years ago, we probably had the highest suicide rate amongst Aboriginal youth of anywhere else in the country. Because of a tremendous amount of attention being paid to the issue at that time, there was a lot of resources deployed to help in those communities. Now, whether those resources are still in place, whether they're the adequate services that we need today to meet the challenges that we're dealing with today or not, is all questions that I'm asking. I'm not an expert in the field, but I am very concerned when I see a number of young people committing suicide in Labrador, and knowing that it's not linked to addictions, it's not linked to gas sniffing, these are not young people who've had a criminal record, then you start looking at where their gaps may be in the system and how we need to reach out to help them so we don't see more of this occurring.
Well, how do you focus? How do people focus on this in some constructive way? What's the solution?
Well, obviously, we live in a country where we have a healthcare system that borns the responsibility for looking after its citizens in a number of ways. And one of those ways is ensuring that there are proper delivery of programs and services. So immediately yesterday, after the federal cabinet shuffle, I wrote Rona Ambrose, who's the new Minister of Health, along with Susan Sullivan, the Provincial Minister in Newfoundland and Labrador, and the Labrador-Grenfell Health Board, asking them what services we're providing and if they can identify where there may be gaps and how we can improve upon those services. I am not an expert in the field. However, there are people in Labrador who have tremendous qualifications in working in communities in this capacity, and I'm sure there's a lot that we can learn from them in terms of where gaps may exist and how we can deploy more services to meet that need.
And just finally, Ms. Jones, when it comes to suicide, it is a concern about always the possibility of copycat suicides. Is that on people's minds in Labrador?
Absolutely. It's not unusual to see. We've seen it before in communities in Labrador, and there is concerns being expressed today by parents and by others in communities that this could be the case. So we need to be very careful and very cognizant of the delicacy of the issue that we're dealing with here. And I would ask that we not waste a lot of time in terms of doing proper assessments of services, that we would do it immediately, and we would look at what we can do to improve the services in the communities. In addition to that, I really do feel that we need to start doing more in the communities to help young people that are grieving through processes like this as well. And I hope that from all of this we can learn to make improvements, because I can tell you that there are many people in Labrador that are suffering today and they're grieving immensely for the loved ones that they have lost.
Yvonne Jones, thank you very much for joining us from Ottawa.
Thank you.